One thing you need to do on your new website for invasive species is to find your own images. And two parts to that. One is we can only use certain kinds of images that aren't under copyright. And the second part of that is we need them to be able to fit well into our website. So we'll need to be able to resize them in Photoshop. So the first part of that, there are websites out there that have free photos that have no copyright restrictions on them, where people just put them up there and said, here, you can use this for whatever you want. And I don't care, you don't have to credit me, you don't have to give me money. Sometimes they do want to be credited, but you can go ahead and use the image. So one of those sites that's really good is Morguefile. And there are other ones too for free images. But for the invasive species images, probably we're going to be better off with a Google search. The problem with a Google search, so let's say I'm looking for zebra mussels. There's just a regular search, and I'm going to go to images. And I'm getting all these images. Some of these are probably okay to use, but most of them are probably under copyright. Like here's one from the Dallas Observer, their newspaper website. So that's definitely a copyrighted image that I can't use. So yeah, this is why zebra mussels are a problem. They stick to everything. So let's say I need to find one that I'm able to reuse without violating a copyright law. So there's a tool built into Google Image Search. So you go to Search Tools and then Usage Rights. And see, this is not filtered right now, but we want to do Labeled for Reuse. And now what should happen is all these that come up are okay for us to use. They've been basically given away by whoever owns them. So let's say I want this first one here. I'm noticing first off that it's 520 wide by 365 high. So the width of my main content area is 720. So that's going to take up a real big chunk of it, which may be what I want or may not. In any case, I'm going to click on it, and then I'm going to right-click on the image, and then save the image as. And if you're using a different browser other than Firefox, you may get a slightly different wording on that. But save the image, and then for right now, I'm just going to save into my desktop. Okay, and then once it's saved, I found it here. Get this out of the way. Okay, once it's saved, then you can go Open With, right-click on it, or Control-click and do Open With, and Open With Photoshop. And then here it is, and now it's at 100% zoom level, so we know that's the actual size. If it's not at 100%, double-click the magnifying glass. Like if you happen to be looking at it like that, you know, it says 50%, double-click the magnifying glass. Okay, so that's 100%. So this is going to take up a big chunk of that area in my main content area, and maybe I only want it about half that big. So instead of resizing it in Dreamweaver, the better way to do it is to go to Image, Image Size, and then type in a new width here, and also make sure Constrained Proportions is checked so you won't end up warping your zebra mussel. So instead of 520, if I want it half that big, I could either do 250 and 10, 260, or I could do like change that to 50 and then percent, which would be half as big. Make sure the height changes correspondingly, and then hit OK. And that's my new size. If you want to do any other modifications, you can. Don't do anything too weird to most of these photos, because on most of them anyway, you're going to want them to look fairly realistic, but you could do some minor adjustments like to brightness or contrast or vibrance, hue saturation, just little things. But don't get too carried away. And then when you go to save, you're going to do save for web, do file save for web. And usually photos you're going to save as a JPEG high, so choose that up here. and then hit save. And here's where I would change the name. So I would also save these directly into your images folder for your website. So I'm going to go to the Mac server E9. Here's mine, my invasive site, and my images folder. Okay, and then I'm going to give this a different name. I'm saving it in a different place, but if I wasn't, for sure, I'd want to name it something different so that I didn't replace my original image, so I could always go back to it. So maybe zebra muscle web, so I know that's my web image. Or sometimes, so you know how big images are just by looking at the name. Sometimes people will name them just with the width, like 260 or whatever that is, or you could say zebra muscle smaller or something like that. A lot of ways you could describe it. And then just hit save, and then that'll go in there. Then in Dreamweaver, let's say that wasn't there. Maybe this is my zebra muscle page. This is just down the road, but you'll have it right here, and you'll be able to drag it in. Okay, you're not actually doing this yet, but just to show you. We haven't made your zebra muscle page. Okay, and you'll be able to do that float class on it. All right, and then it's in there ready to go. So you need at least one image for each page of your site, including the home page. So on each of the individual critter pages, you're going to probably search for an image of that particular species, but on the home page, it's kind of up to you what your image is, because it's just kind of generally about invasive species. So that one's kind of up to you. And that's how you can resize your images. Forgot one thing I needed to show you. If I undo, go back a step on this one. Sometimes you may find images where they have a lot of stuff in it that you don't need, that you can crop out. So the crop tool, normally you use just with these empty up here, and then you can just say, well, I didn't want all that space on the right side. Something like that, and you can take it out. You never want to crop in too close, but you can do something like that. Hit the checkbox. Okay, and that crops it down. You can combine the crop and the resize at the same time if you want to. By, like, if I know I wanted this thing 260 pixels across, I can put that in for the width, and then I can position this how I want within that cropped area. So maybe I want it like that. Don't want to lose quite as much of the shadow, maybe. Okay, and then hit the checkbox. And then what it'll do in addition to cropping is it also resizes it. So then this is my new size, and I could go File, Save for Web, and do it that way. So that's how you combine a crop and an image resize. Now we're all done.